All right, here we are, episode 2 of the Top Down Deck Design Podcast. I'm Rashad Miller, and once again, I am joined by BDM, Brian David Marshall. What's up, Brian?
Not too much, Rashad. Not too much. I'm excited to dig into a 99 card deck today.
That's right. Today, I figured we didn't go deep enough in our first episode, so we needed to not only expand the card pool to, a almost eternal environment, but
it's actually beyond eternal. Oh no, I guess the commander cards are legal in eternal. So
well, I mean, it is in a sense beyond eternal. Oh no, it can't be. It's exactly eternal.
Yeah.
Minus, and it has some additional bans, and everything's restricted. But of course, we talk about Commander, and since the deck this time was my idea, I figure I need to do the big reveal, which really is the big reveal because the name of the episode is going to be the same thing, which is Humble Brago. It is Brago, right? I really hope it's Brago, or is it Brago?
I mean, if it's not, it is for the purposes of this podcast.
I guess
we can emergency errata it to Humble Brago,
or I guess I could always just put in a bunch of dubs of us saying Brago, or whatever.
No, let's not do that.
Oh man, this guy's a spirit. I didn't even notice he was a spirit. We'll get to that later.
Oh no, that makes things interesting.
That does make things interesting. But of course, I guess you can see right here we have Brago King Eternal, which I guess I can read what it does for all those who aren't watching the video. Whenever Brago King Eternal deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of non-land permanents you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So basically, you get to blink any non-land permanent you have.
So there's a lot of weird stuff you're able to do with this.
But first, we need to say the other half of the combo, since it's another two-card combo, quote unquote. But there's this card called Humble, which basically says target creature loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 0/1.
Are we obligated to play with Humble, or do we just have to have a sort of theme of humbleness to make it Humble Brago?
Well, I think we have to have at least Humble.
You just want to have at least a Humble. Let me ask you a question about Humble.
Okay.
If I humble my opponent's commander and it loses all abilities and dies, right? Like, so they attack, I make your commander's now an 0/1, has no abilities. Does it remember that it's a commander? Can it go back to the command zone, or does it just die as an abilityless, meager, never to be remembered, buried in Potter's Field creature?
I'm pretty sure it still goes back because it's a I don't think commanders have that ability.
Okay.
I think it's just a game rule.
Right. I know they still go back to the command zone if they die as morphs, so I would assume it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's just looking, oh, this is your commander, and it's changing zones, and then that replacement effect happens. I don't think it matters whether or not it is at that time, your commander. Like if it got cytoplasm, well, not cytoplasm, but if it got like,
right.
Whatever those cards that can make it into something else temporarily, or make it lose abilities, or it's a morph. I'm pretty sure if it dies and that card is changing zones, you have that opportunity to still put it back into the command zone.
Right, because I don't know about you, but when I play Commander, all I want to do is screw with people's commanders.
That's because you're a commander jerk. I don't know if you've. We haven't quite planned out the intervention yet, but I've been meaning to tell you this. You're not.
Wait a minute.
You don't.
How am I a jerk?
That's the point of commander, is not to screw with other people's
have
fun.
You seen the cards they play with?
Well, it's maybe this can't become a discussion on the etiquette of commander, because that's a discussion that will never end. There'll never be an actual resolution there'll never be a rule set, and we're just gonna go we'll end up way too deep down the wrong rabbit hole.
we're already pretty far down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole here.
I mean, we're diving deep. We're going to dive deep in this one, but we're going to dive deep in the let's put some awesome cards in this deck, not diving deep in can I make sure that every commander player likes me and my deck, which will never ever happen for anyone.
Right.
All right, so
all right, so just starting on Brago for a second, does that can we have voting? Can we play with Brago's representative?
is that a card?
Yeah.
I think we should play with that card.
It's from Conspiracy, but it's not a. So there's 3 cards with Brago's name on it.
Oh,
one of them is a conspiracy, so we can't play with that. It's a hidden agenda.
Okay.
Right. So hidden agenda is not legal in Commander. But Brago's representative, 2 and white. It's a 1/4 human advisor, and then it says while voting, you get an additional vote.
Okay, it's not coming up in my. I'm on my Magic Online account, and it's not showing up.
Well, is Conspiracy available on Magic Online?
Well, all of the cards that were in Vintage Masters.
But Brago's representative probably wasn't in Vintage Masters. Brago was.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I know there are voting cards on that were in Vintage Masters because the white one that allows you to exile a permanent
right
that has the most votes is in there, but it could be that not all of the cards in Conspiracy are on Magic Online because they maybe just selected a few.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to put Brago's representative on there. Brago's representative, by the way, works nicely with Will of the Council, one card you mentioned, for example.
Yeah, I would definitely. Those both should be in there. We can put Will of the Council in here on Magic Online because that card is not in my collection for some reason. Oh, Council's Judgment is the name of the card.
Oh, Council's Judgment.
Okay, yep, found it. It's in there. But Will of the Council is the text is on the card. But back to humility and the humbles and humble-esque effects. I put in lose all abilities into the search, and we got some stuff to work with if I can spell abilities properly. There we go. So we have Turn to Frog. We have Darksteel Mutation. Oh, that's let's see, Darksteel Mutation. Well, Turn to Frog makes it a 1/1. It loses all abilities, and Darksteel Mutation makes it a 0/1 indestructible artifact inset that loses all abilities. Turn Burn comes up, but we can't play that because of the red part.
Oh, right, because we're limited to
blue
because our commander's going to be Brago. That means we can only use blue and white cards.
Right. We have Avanize, which makes it into a 1/1.
Right.
Cheap.
Humble, Avanize. I have Polymorph's Jest, which is a sweet one. Polymorph's Jest is 1 UU instant. It's an M15 until end of turn. Each creature target player controls loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1/1. So the way this is worded, it wouldn't matter, right? Like, whatever bonuses, if you Titanic Strength your creature, it would still have the Titanic Strength bonus. It would just be on top of the base power and toughness 1/1.
Right. It basically just, you scratch out the numbers in the lower right-hand corner of the card and replace it with 1/1, and then you do everything else normally.
Right.
One other card that I think is very commandery because everyone would have to pick it up and read to see what it does is Soul Sculptor.
I was just looking at that.
I already got it in the deck. Mostly because we are talking commander here. Target creature becomes an enchantment and loses all abilities until a player casts a creature spell, and it's a 1/1 for a 2 and a white, and that's a tap ability for 1 and a white.
Yeah, I actually have a misprinted Soul Sculptor.
Even better.
It has a completely white back, not white. Like basically, it only has the blue ink and a little bit of black ink in the printing process. So the back of it is all like faded out.
Oh, okay. So it almost looks like it's sun faded, but it's actually just misprinted.
Yeah, it's just misprinted. I have like I think 40 Urza Saga rares that were all that that all have that kind of back. I actually have a Morphling like that.
Were they all from the same pack?
They were all from the same box, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Brago. We have a bunch of humbling effects. Maybe we should touch on not playing humility, since that's the original humble.
Okay. Humility is just the worst.
Well, I think it's the worst on multiple levels. The first level is no one wants to play with you if you have humility in play. And secondly, we want Brago to actually work with whatever card we're playing with, so it doesn't play nicely with Brago.
So the ones we're going to use, I assume we're going to use Darksteel Mutation, because we can use that to save our commander, right? Like, we can use that kind of either way.
Well, it's an enchantment.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm thinking it's. Oh no, we don't want that.
Well, we got 99 slots to fill here.
There's gonna be no problem filling slots here.
Okay, well, let's just let Darksteel Mutation sit there for now.
Okay, so definitely playing Humble.
Definitely playing Humble
with some Myrick artwork. Pretty sweet, former comic book artist.
Oh.
Ovenize.
Yep.
Some Therese Nielsen. Polymorph's Jest. We're gonna have we can't have Snake Form.
We can't play Snake Form because of the green part. But we get to play Turn to Frog, which
Soul
was
Sculptor and Turn to Frog.
Yes.
And then we're gonna put one Teleria in.
Oh, one Teleria. Oh
my. I mean, you can first of all look, if you're gonna build a deck, right? Like, there's no reason to not have a Teleria. Like, it's just, I mean, unless you're just really worried about, like, getting wastelanded in death in Commander.
There's so many other targets for a wasteland. No one's gonna, unless you made someone already, a little mad at you for whatever reason.
If you can get someone to wasteland your Teleria, you are actually allowed to run around the room high-fiving total strangers.
Okay. Teleria doesn't seem to be on Magic Online yet. I guess there isn't a high demand for that ability in Vintage. But why don't you tell us what Teleria does again?
Teleria is tap, add blue to your mana pool. It's a legendary land. Or tap during your upkeep.
Wait. You can only use this ability during your upkeep?
Yeah, the errata is the Oracle text is tap, target creature loses banding and all banned with other abilities until end of turn. Activate this ability only during any upkeep step.
Oh, any upkeep. So it's got we've expanded its capabilities.
Yeah, yes. I guess it just said during upkeep in the old wording. It says during upkeep, remove the banding.
But did it tap to do that?
It tapped, yeah.
I could only imagine what the original. Do you actually have the original wording pulled up?
Yeah. It says tap during upkeep, remove the banding or bands with other ability from target creature until end of turn.
So tap, comma, and then during upkeep.
Tap colon.
All right, I'm gonna have to pull this up for the video. So this is basically just going in for giggles.
And losing an ability.
All right, so I have it pulled up, and nice, beautiful, beachy artwork we got going on. Are we just gonna fill this deck full of cards that everyone has to pick up and read?
Oh, I think that is. I think that's certainly at the heart of a humble brag. It's like, how do you have all these cards?
I've been playing for a while, but
if I build this physically. Like, my Mana War is actually going to be a simplified Chinese Portal Mana War. I
don't know how humble you can brag about that one.
What? Like, whatever. You got to have a couple, it's just a Mana War. It's not like it's some, fancy card. It's not like my simplified Chinese Portal Armageddon.
Okay,
or Wrath of God.
You just
a Mana War.
Yeah, you just humbled it up. That one's good. That was good. All right, so we only have 7 cards in this deck. I put a council's judgment in,
Okay.
and I think we did want to play. What was it, Brago's representative?
Yeah, Brago's representative. I think we want that. I mean, I don't know if there'll be any other voting cards. We'll look. I'll do a search for voting and see if there's some other cards we want.
I'm sure some will pop up.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now we kind of need a strategy because we don't have one yet. All we have is Brago and Humble like effects, which I guess help us get our Brago through.
Right. Oh, good point.
So, but then where do we go from there?
Well, I think what we really want to look for is we want to search for enters the battlefield. Right? Like we want like, you know, Muldrifters and Man of Wars and Absolver Thralls and, you know, cards like that that we can blink, right? I mean, this is really like a blink deck.
Well, we have quite the selection of cards.
Yeah, I came up with 571 cards.
Yeah, I have 308 on Magic Online. So we may want to tighten that up. I mean, we could start. Usually, when I build commander decks, and this is no joke, I sort by mana cost, and I start from the top and work my way down because you can't play things that cost less than 5 and commander and be a successful commander player. But a lot of these don't have too many great abilities. I mean, when you sort from the back, like the first thing that comes up is Polar Kraken. I'm skipping over Iceberg because it has an X in the cost, and you know that doesn't really work with blinking.
Yeah, I have Polar Kraken, Myojin of Seeing Winds, Leviathan, but you know I own a Shield of Emeria.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Grozoff. I mean, Grozoff is kind of perfect for, you know, when it comes into play, you may search your library for any number of cards that have converted mana cost 9.
So we're just gonna once we get that ball rolling on turn 9, it's like there's no stopping us. So many 9. All right, let's search for something else. I'm thinking let's start with like cards like Scrivener so that we can bring our Humble back or something like that.
Sure. So Scrivener, Archaeomancer.
So let's look for Return and Instant.
Sure. We can just put Hover Guard Sweepers in here, though, right?
Yeah, it'll get
there.
Yeah,
okay.
It'll get there.
You don't get humbler than the drone creature type.
This is becoming an exercise in how well do you know how to use the Magic Online interface for searching up cards to make decks. Is there a way to sort creature? All right, we want creatures. I guess it can be enchantments too because it's just non-land. So we want anything that's a permanent.
Right. What's the artifact that that nukes something when it comes into play?
I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, I don't even have artifacts in here. I'm just looking at blue-white. Ooh, can we play with Rasputin Dreamweaver?
I don't even know what that. Oh, is that the guy that makes mana or something?
Yeah, Rasputin Dreamweaver. Put 7 counters on Rasputin when brought into play. I'm just going to read the old text. I'm not going to read the new text. You may remove a counter to prevent 1 damage to Rasputin, or add 1 to your mana pool. This ability is played as an interrupt. Put 1 counter on Rasputin during your upkeep if he started the turn untapped. You may not have more than 7 of these counters on Rasputin at any time.
But he only taps for 1 mana at a time, right? Or can you?
No, you can do that whenever. Yeah, just remove a counter. There's no constraints on it. You can play him and get 7 mana, and then just each turn you kick back up a mana. But we can reset him, right? Because he's an enter the battlefield. His 7 counters come into play when he enters the battlefield.
And so we get 7 mana and then 7 more on the same, like during our second main phase?
Yes.
Okay, he's in. Now I just did a search for return an instant, and we have Venser, Shaper Servant,
Oh, I
7.
like Venser.
So that guy, he should be in. Void Mage Husher came up too. I can't remember what that guy does. When Void Mage Husher enters the battlefield, counter target activated ability. That's probably not going to be good enough.
Oh, really? See, I think that is good. Well, I guess we.
It's good as a card, as in you could pay 4 and counter activated ability, but it doesn't combo with Brago because there aren't going to be any activated abilities on the stack during our combat step.
Right, right. Except whenever you play a spell, you may return Void Mage Husher to its owner's hand. Like, this just might be good in the deck. Like, we're going to end up having a lot of spells and humilities. I mean, not humilities, humbles and things like that. But we're not going to, I don't think we're going to end up having a lot of room for counter spells and for stuff like that. So I feel like something like this is just like, is just like a stifle on a stack, on a stick. It's also on a stack.
A stifle on a stick and on the stack. Not quite stifle, but
Right.
it's fine. It's reusable. It gives you some longevity and how annoying you can be to the
Right.
table. Gives you a 2/2 that you can kind of block with however long you want.
Right.
Sure, he can. This guy can be in there for now. Dust Elemental came up too. I can't remember what that does. Oh, return 3 creatures you control to their owner's hands. Probably not what we want to be doing. Planeswalker's Mischief. Target opponent reveals a card at random from his hand. If it's a certain, nope, that one's up. So Stonecloaker's probably a good one. Deputy of Acquittals. Maybe we want to save our Brago, but that doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't. It still doesn't combo well with Brago. There's a lot of creatures that return other creatures in blue and white.
I like Deputy of Acquittals, but
Do you also like Quickling then? Do you want more Deputy of Acquittals? And White Mane Lion? I mean, we could go pretty deep in the return another creature to his owner's hand realm.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I guess there's no way. I mean, one of the things I was thinking about is, is there a way to like steal a creature and then return it? Yeah, no. Yeah, I guess maybe this isn't that exciting for us. I mean, I like maybe one or two of these, maybe a Quickling and a Deputy as like, yeah, counter spells to protect creatures, key creatures from wraths or stop someone from Oblivion ringing your Brago or something like that.
All right, so I put in a Scrivener. I'm going to put in an Mancer. If I can spell it right. Let's just do that and see what comes up.
You can't put a Rasputin Dreamweaver in, I'm assuming.
I don't think that one's in on Magic Online. I haven't searched yet. Let's just see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just admit to you that this is all about me wanting to be able to play with some of my Italian Legends cards.
All right, guess who's on Magic Online?
Really?
Yes, he is. He's in one of the Masters editions. He's in Masters Edition 3. They were ready for you, Brian.
I know some people who actually play Rasputin Dreamweaver commander decks and have some degenerate combos that they can do with all that mana. Like, they're able to make some sort of, infinite loop and kill everybody.
Well, that doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah, well,
But,
commander mileage varies.
Your results may vary as to how long your game lasts.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so I put in Scrivener, put in Archaeomancer, return target. Oh, target instant. I was wondering why it didn't pop up. Because I think there are more things like Scrivener and Archaeomancer that we can put in here, right? Target instant. So I'm thinking, I know there are a couple that are not mono blue that we don't have availability to add, like Knuckle V
Right.
and there's like an ogre or something, or
There's the ogre savant that returns a creature, and then there's is it Chronarch that
yeah,
returns an instant or sorcery.
right. I mean, those would have been great to be able to add. If only
Yeah.
we could have, if Brago had a little bit of red in him,
Yeah.
just a little bit of anger, we would have had access to a lot of fun stuff, and like we would have been able to play turn and burn, which is another humble effect.
Right.
Okay, so we have Set's Tiger. That's an interesting card.
I don't even remember what that does.
It gives you protection from a color until the end of the turn.
Right. Oh, gives you protection.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's nice.
And it has flash, so it's another one of those flash spells you can bring in to counter, some crazy spell, probably an X variant that's targeting your head.
Not. Oh, see, that's interesting. So suddenly, if you have cards like this, we talked about the Void Mage Husher, like you could actually, Deputy of Acquittals, a Set's Tiger, and replay it.
Yeah, you could. Do we want to max out on? Do we want Deputy of Acquittals and Quickling and White Mane Lion?
Yeah, I think we want to start there. Yeah, we may switch. We may those may fall out, but I think we do.
All right, I think there might be one other card that kind of does the same effect as these, but I can't think of it, and it didn't pop up when I did my original search. But I think 3 may be enough. And you have Venser in a pinch that can do the same thing.
Right.
Speaking of Venser, should we also play Venser, the Planeswalker?
Yes.
Can we target our Venser with Brago?
Yes.
All right, maybe we should start looking at Planeswalkers too, that we want to use the minus ability and then reset immediately.
Yeah, it's just exile any number of target non-land permanents.
All right, so I can't spell Venser today. Venser, and only one came up. Why doesn't the other one show up? Don't tell me I don't have a...
You have more packs you didn't open?
I'm sure I've played with a Venser, right? I had to have.
So, I mean, you should have in your collection Venser's Diffusion, Venser's Journal, Venser's Sliver, Venser's Shaper Savant, and Venser the Sojourner.
Well, I also have these weird filters on that may be messing me up because I may not be using those properly. Oh,
yeah. Venser the Sojourner is also target permanent you own. Actually, it's not even non-land. You can exile any permanent.
All right, so I figured it out. There was a type 2 filter.
Oh, okay.
On. There were 2 type filters, rather, not a type 2 filter. It said type with 2 in parentheses, but it was actually just one filter with 2 clicks. So we got Venser in. And all this other Venser stuff does pop up, but probably not relevant.
Nope.
Let's just look for Planeswalkers.
Well, yeah. Also, you can do stuff where you get double. When does the Brago card come back? Right away.
Immediately.
So you can actually just get 2 uses out of those Planeswalkers on a turn.
That's true.
Right. So you could do something, blink your Planeswalkers, and then do it again.
All right. So I search for Planeswalker.
So say in Elspeth, you could make 6 tokens. 3 tokens, blink Elspeth, make 3 more tokens.
All right, so which Planeswalkers do we want, and which ones don't we want? It seems like we want a lot, so we're going to put a Johnny Steadfast in. because he likes having planeswalker buddies.
All right, hold on. Let's see.
That's the one that its minus is add counters to all of your other planeswalkers. That's actually pretty sick, because if you have, maybe let's say you have two planeswalkers out and one of them is a Johnny Steadfast, you can activate his minus, put pluses on your other planeswalkers, attack, blink out your Ajani.
Yeah.
Maybe or maybe not blink out your other planeswalkers, depending on the situation. And Ajani comes back, you get to minus it again. So now you put two plus counters, two loyalty counters on your other planeswalkers. And then we haven't even activated those other planeswalkers yet.
Right. Right. You can actually go +3 counters on every other planeswalker that turn.
Okay, so we want one of each Elspeth, because how can that ever be wrong?
Sure.
Do we want a Gideon?
I assume a Johnny Steadfast is the only Ajani we want.
Yeah, I mean, a Johnny Goldmane has some play. Call of the Pride. How many? Oh, well, that one doesn't work with the other Ajani.
Right.
We want to. Probably that's the only Ajani we want. Maybe Goldmane can go in. It's kind of okay.
I actually like Kirel in this deck a lot, because ultimately where I think this deck will end up is being a blue-white creature token deck. Like, I think we're going to end up having a lot of tokens. And so Elspeth Tirel's ultimate is pretty exciting there.
Yeah, and we can get there pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It starts off at 4. We can minus a Johnny, so now it's at 5. And then Brago, then minus a Johnny again. And now it's at 6. And then +1, and it's at 7. And then we're like, next turn, come at me, bro.
I mean, you could do it that turn.
Well, how do we get... No, because it only gets up to 6 from the two Ajani's, right?
Elspeth Tirel's ultimate is only -5.
Oh, I'm looking at Elspeth Sun's champion.
No. I'm talking about Elspeth Tirel, which is destroy all other permanents except for lands and tokens.
Yep, we can get there. And actually, we get to use... Don't we get to use our Elspeth as a -2 first?
Oh, yeah, if we want to, we can... Oh, my God, right.
Wait, we -2, and then...
It goes to 2.
Then it comes back and...
No,
oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that.
Can't.
Well, that sucks. But anyway. So do we want... What about Gideon? Do we want Gideon in?
Let's see.
Well, the first Gideon was the one that makes all creatures have to attack it.
Right.
Which seemed...
We're definitely putting Elspeth Knight Errant in, right?
Yeah, I already put one of each Elspeth. That was already a given. There's no Elspeth that's bad in any situation, so I figure they're all going to be good in a commander game. Now, Gideon Jura. This seems like a kind of odd ability for a multiplayer game. His +2 is during target opponent's next turn, creatures that player controls attack Gideon Jura if able. And I don't know if you want to force like one person in a multiplayer game to attack you with all their monsters.
Except that you can do it as a... It's a good political card, right? Like, your opponent's like, someone next to you is about to be killed. It's a multiplayer game, and he's like, please, what can you do? Can you help me? It's like, well, I can throw Gideon in the way of all of his attackers next turn. Right? So what are you going to do for me? And that's perfectly reasonable. Like,
Well, I put him in, and I'm looking at the other Gideon, which is Gideon Champion of Justice, which his +1 is add a loyalty counter for each creature target opponent controls. It would have been great if it was each opponent controls, because then, Gideon just gets completely out of hand.
He still gets... Like, this is not a card you want to see, like, someone play against your green deck, for example.
Well, that's true, because it's going to win the game the turn after it comes out, because it's going to get like... Well, It's probably not that big of a deal because the thing is, if Gideon comes down and pluses and gains 20 counters because I have 20 creatures, chances are I can probably kill that Gideon with
That,
my 20 creatures.
that's fair. That's fair.
But it's still interesting if someone does have a deck that just kind of goes wild with a bunch of tokens, or like my Druid deck that which is basically just like an Elfish combo kind of deck where you can play the Gideon and just get it huge immediately. It doesn't play well with Brago. It doesn't even play well with the Johnny because it doesn't have a minus that you can really abuse,
Right.
and the zero doesn't do much either. So maybe we don't play that Gideon.
Yeah, I mean, well, it doesn't get played in any other format either. Why would we start now?
I've drafted it in Cube before.
Oh, but by the way, also on Elspeth Tyrell, like the ability to gain 1 life for each creature you control is going to get out of hand pretty
Yeah,
quickly with Brago.
yeah. You can gain life, then gain life. Well, you can only do
Yeah,
it twice, but still. And if Brago is doing a good enough job of helping you, build an army in play, then it's just going to be sick. So we should probably look for white creatures that make tokens also, but we'll
yes,
we'll
I
get back
think
to
we're
that.
gonna. Believe me, I think we're gonna end up there.
Okay.
I've already been scouting ahead on those.
All right, because we're still looking at planeswalkers, and we've just gotten to the Jays. So
Right,
that's also where it gets good because we have Jace Beleren, which definitely going to play because being able to -1 Brago and then -1 means we're drawing 3 cards a turn.
right.
Architect of Thought. Um,
I mean, I play with Jay's Architect of Thought in my Momir Vig deck, but you've already told me I'm not a good person.
well, you aren't. I mean, you're a nice person, Brian David Marshall. But once commander cards start, once those 3 to 4 legends get set down on the table, and then the large decks are stacked next to them, you lose all you lose all that niceness. I don't know where it goes. You and Marshall Sutcliffe, you both become just evil human beings.
You understand that you were just describing some scenario where you have 20 creatures in play on like turn two.
It's like turn 3. No, it's not turn 2. I deliberately took cards out of my commander deck so that it couldn't do that turn 2. Just saying. All right. Architect of Thought.
I don't think we're gonna have a room for all the planeswalkers we want.
We're
I
only
would
at 26
probably.
cards right now.
What's that?
We're only at 26 cards. Well, we're at 26 according to Magic Online. Obviously, there's some cards that you did mention that aren't on Magic Online that we wanted to include. But I think we could make room for Jace, Architect of Thought. And in the spirit of being a quasi-nice person, I will not put in Jace the Mind Sculptor. How's that?
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. That's I was actually not paying attention. I was thinking Jace the Mind Sculptor, and I
Well,
was thinking about Jace Architect of Thought.
yeah. Jace Architect of Thought just lets us. I mean, we could draw 2 more cards for each activation with its
Right.
-2. And the +1 can play a role. It's kind of like a hey, don't attack me because it's not worth
Right.
it in multiplayer. There's
Right.
also the newest Jace the Living Guild pack, with which even in limited doesn't really do anything. This is the planeswalker that I've played, like I've looked at and I've played with, and you just look at his +1, and his +1 doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
All it really does is it puts loyalty counters on this Jace, which we
Which is
don't.
a lot.
It,
And he's got a lot of loyalty.
yeah, so his +1 is look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. Doesn't get you the card in your hand, it just puts a card in your graveyard and adds a counter on your Jace. He has a -3 of return target non-land permanent to his owner's hand, which obviously is going to be very useful. And with the Brago, we can bounce something, Brago or Jace, and then bounce something again. And then it has this ultimate, which basically everyone shuffles their hand, library, and graveyard together, and you're the only one that draws 7 cards.
That feels like big jerkiness.
Yeah, that's definitely big jerkiness. It'll probably win you the game and lose you a few friends, but
If you could protect it for 1 turn, with an Ajani around, you
Exactly.
you actually get to do that the turn after you play it.
Yeah, you play them on 5 loyalty. You a Johnny -2. That's going to put them up to 6. You a Brago. You're a Johnny. Your Johnny's -2. That's going to put them up to 7. Then you use the +1 that puts them at 8, and then you become the target at the table. I think I've just said exactly that timeline is
Yeah.
how not only do you make that's how the quickest way to make 3 enemies.
Right. Yeah. No, that's there's that's where everyone just starts looking at each other and not looking at you. You know that moment in the game.
And then there's all this quiet conversation, or
Yeah.
sometimes not so quiet conversation that's all about, yeah, there's a lot of pointing at your permanents and looking at their hands.
People start flashing cards at each other in their
Yeah.
hands. They're like, well, I've got this. You're like, come on.
Like, come on, I just played 2 cards. They're both planeswalkers, and they comboed well together. All right, so we still have some more planeswalkers to look at. We have Tamio, probably.
I love Tamio.
I think Tamio's fun.
I do too. I mean, I play with her in my fake deck also. And it's actually just I mean, a lot of times it's just a great card draw spell.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna draw 4. Awesome.
Yeah, you get to target a player, so again, it's not everyone else at the table,
Right.
but you could even target yourself if you're the one with all of the tap tokens in play.
Right.
Although if you're able to attack with all of your tokens, you probably don't need any more cards.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, you're probably getting gross there already.
Yeah, and you're probably, or maybe you need to draw cards because you just attacked and you're trying to kill everyone before they figure out a way to team up and get you back.
Yeah.
All right, so another planeswalker, which is in our colors, Tezzeret the Seeker.
No, Tezzeret's not going to work for our deck, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, this all the Tezzeret really wants is for you to have a few artifacts in your deck. This is also a planeswalker that we would be able to ultimate immediately with a Johnny Steadfast.
Right.
But
That's true.
its ultimate means that you need to have artifacts in play because its ultimate changes all of your artifacts into 5/5 creatures.
Right. I mean,
But
not very difficult for us to play with, Ancient Den and what's the blue one? It's not too difficult to play with a couple of artifact lands.
right.
Have obviously can have a Sensei's Divining Top in play, a Sol Ring. I mean, we're gonna have those cards, right?
Right. I mean, those are just staples. We probably should have started with a lot of the commander staples put into the deck. So I think Tezzeret.
I always try to assume I'm gonna somehow be able to finally build the deck without those cards, but it doesn't happen.
Well, I have a EDH deck or commander deck that does not have a Soul Ring.
Really?
Yeah, my Druid deck doesn't have a Soul Ring.
Oh, yeah, because your whole deck is Soul Rings.
Yeah, and 2 colorless doesn't really do much for me. I'd rather just have green.
Right.
Like it's worse than a forest in my deck in most situations.
Okay.
But okay.
Oh, but you know what we should do, by the way? Just when we post this podcast on the website, we should both publish our. You should publish your mono green commander list, and I'll publish my Momir Vig deck. People always ask me for my updated list, so.
Oh yeah. I think I already. I mean, I have a post out there because people have asked me for it. I can find that because obviously, writing out a 99 card single to deck is a little. It's a little lot to ask, but
It
the
is,
list.
but I'm willing to do it for the top-down deck design purposes.
Yeah, and I have a list that's out there, and I will either take that list and make sure that any recent changes are added to that list, or I might just link to it. But I'll find that, and we'll have both of those lists up on the website and the Facebook page. And
I actually my other commander deck actually is a top-down deck design. It doesn't work like the way we do it with a funny name, but like I decided to build a deck based around a theme of hard-boiled crime, and so every card in the deck has to tie in, at least loosely in my mind, to some sort of motif of crime. I have to be able to justify it. I have to be able to point to some kind of, trope in crime novels or a specific crime novel that I'm thinking about in order to justify its inclusion in the deck.
And that's your blue-black deck,
That's
right?
my Lazav deck, yeah. Because
Right.
I have this gorgeous Lazav altar by Eric Klug that he did as the cover to The Man with the Getaway Face, which is a classic crime novel by Richard Stark.
Yeah, I think that Commander, in a lot of ways, is a top-down deck design process anyway, because in my mind there are two ways to build a Commander deck. One is the top-down, where you go, I like this Commander. I'm going to build a deck that revolves around this Commander being the center of attention, combos with this Commander, themes with this Commander, and such. And the other way is to go, oh, I want to build a singleton deck with a certain strategy. I need these certain colors. I'm going to throw all these cards together, and then I'm going to find whichever legendary creature both supports my colors and supports my theme of my deck the best.
What is Randy's approach to building a commander deck?
Honestly, his approach is probably the second. Well, he may have both because I think he has a mono blue Venser, not Venser, a mono blue. What's the creature that gives all your guys flash?
Oh, Teferi.
Yes, I think he has a mono blue Teferi deck, and I can only imagine that he started with Teferi going, I want to make a commander deck with Teferi, and then just put a bunch of counter spells in. And then he probably has another deck where he's like, I love all these counter spells, and now I just need a commander for it. And
No,
they'll probably be the same deck, honestly.
His other two decks are he actually has a Rafika the Many deck, which is gross.
Oh yeah, that's the basically Bat Hex proof deck, right?
Yeah. It's Bat Hex proof in 99 card fashion, and then he has I guess it varies whatever, like basically Wooburg Sliver deck.
That one had to have been top down. I believe.
Well, yeah, it is top down. You're just like, I'm gonna take all these slivers, but that deck is ridiculously robust.
I think every sliver deck will be, and
this new sliver Overlord is just.
Is that just the best general or
your slivers
for
are
your
indestructible?
Yes and no, because it depends on what your board position is at the time. If you have a great board position, then you're like, oh, 5-mana commander, that's great. That commander probably isn't gonna bring you back in a lot of games because there are a lot of effects that will get rid of your general without having to destroy it, either by removing it from the game or exiling it, or putting it at the bottom of the library, which is a lot of people's favorite choice because it doesn't even get the chance of going back to the commander zone. Or one of the worst ways of doing it, in my opinion, which is taking control of it.
Right.
And when you're talking commander and the way that you need to deal with threats, you're not destroying things. You're not playing dark banishings and doom blades and things like that. You're either playing, if an effect is destroying a creature, it's because it's destroying all the creatures, or you're playing an effect that gains you some type of card advantage from that creature, like maybe like a 8/3 mutation, or you're just stealing it so that not only are you removing a threat, but you're gaining a creature on your own. So indestructibility isn't the biggest thing on one creature, but if all your creatures are indestructible and you have like a board presence, then obviously that's great.
Right.
All right. Enough of the tangents. We only have 30 to 33 cards in our commander deck, and I only added one staple, which was Soul Ring. And I feel like the other staples were more land based, like there were actually land cards and we don't touch on lands too much on this podcast. And I know it's only been 2 episodes, but
we're gonna leave the mana bases to Brendan Hurst and Plubby.
Okay, so I went through all the planeswalkers. I added the ones that we thought were pretty good.
Okay.
I put in the Soul Ring. We were hinting to this becoming a token themed deck. So now I think we want to look at creatures and or enchantments, and I guess we could look at artifacts too
Right.
that put some type of token onto the battlefield. So I guess we just want to look up token. That's probably going to give us the best amount of things. So we got some land that
All right.
does it.
I have 74 cards in blue, white, or artifact that make tokens when they enter the battlefield, which is basically what we want, right? Because we're gonna blink these creatures with Brago. So you have a Johnny's Chosen, a Crow and Horse, which doesn't really fit.
I mean, a Cron horse seems pretty fun for commander. I mean, you get to pick on one person, and is their upkeep?
No, it's at the beginning of your upkeep.
Oh, so the person who has the horse is the beginning of that person's upkeep.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, actually, that's a funny card. It's a funny card in Commander. So, Defender, when a Crow and Horse enters the battlefield, an opponent gains control of it. Then, new paragraph, at the beginning of your upkeep, so this is now the person who controls it, each opponent puts a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield.
Each opponent?
Yes! I did not know that until right now. I had no idea. That's a funny card.
Where is... Oh, here we go. I think we need to add one. We'll add a Cron horse.
Let's make friends.
or
one really angry enemy.
Alright, so there we can see a crow and horse. My window isn't working. Oh, there we go, a crow and horse. Now it's a Gideon again. But, yeah. We definitely should put that in. Although, it doesn't work with Brago.
No, it does not. It does not work with Brago.
I mean, is that a thing we're worried about anymore?
No, we're not really worried about it. But I mean, it's just kind of funny. I have a feeling we don't have room for it ultimately. Like we're because ultimately we want to, maybe Elspeth TRL and blow up everything other than tokens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we want to be giving our opponents tokens.
All right, so
let's take that out.
Okay.
Now let's keep note of it for future decks because I think it's a fun card in Commander.
Definitely going to keep that up. Maybe I'll put that in one of my decks. I don't mind having free tokens, but then everyone else gets a token too. So, it's definitely a consideration for Commander.
Yeah.
All right, so I just searched for token, and I looked and I filtered blue, white, colorless, and types that are permanents, and I get 187.
Oh wow.
But some of these just create tokens.
Right.
So let me see.
Use enters the battlefield here. So I can give you a couple right now. Belfry Spirit, for example.
All right, I'm down to 66. I put in token enter.
Okay. So Belfry Spirit, 3 white, Spirit, 1/1 flying with Haunt. When Belfry Spirit comes into play or enters the battlefield, or a creature it haunts is put into a graveyard, put 2 1/1 black bat creature tokens with flying into play. How does that work with? How often does that come up in Commander that a card creates a token that doesn't share a color identity with your deck?
Well, there aren't a lot of cards that make tokens that are a different color than the card.
Yeah, I want Belfry Spirit just because it does this.
Just so that you can.
Just so I can have black bats in play.
Are you gonna humbly brag about that somehow?
Yeah, obviously.
All right. Okay, so that guy's in. Cloudgoat Ranger in.
Yes.
3. It makes 3 1/1 Kithkins, and it's a 3/3 itself. Geist Honored Monk should be in because it's like another. It's just basically the same thing as Cloudgoat Ranger, and then we have Ornithart, the best rare uncommon in that format. What was that format? It was what set is he from? He is from Born of the Gods.
Yeah. Well, what about
Scion of Vitugazi? Yep.
What about Benthicor?
Benthicor. I was just looking at the 5-drop white creatures.
Okay, but well, I'm going. I'm looking. You said we
Ben,
got to go. We got
Benth-
to go big. Benthicor 7.
Benthecor's in. What does Benthicor create?
2/1/1 blue Merfolk wizard creature tokens, and then you can tap 2 untap Merfolk to give Benthicor Shroud until end of turn.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's right next to Mere Battlesphere. Maybe we should have that guy.
Yeah, and
Pentavis and Triskalavus.
Oh, you're like, oh, so the guys we get to move the tokens off of, blink them out, and then they come back in with their full load.
Yeah.
Oh, those are good. I was just thinking like Blade Splicer here.
Well, Blade Spicer is good enough too. Although that may be too probably not as impactful as you need for an EDH card.
Right.
I like paying 5 and getting a board presence in one card instead of paying 3 and getting some good value. The 3/3 body is great, and the 1/1 is kind of just a tag along. But in Commander, that guy isn't holding up to dragons because there's going to be dragons out there.
Right.
If you haven't played Commander, there's a lot of dragons.
And we're going to humble those dragons.
We will. Well,
Is that a dragon? Is that a dragon? Or, oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. It's actually just a frog.
And speaking of turning things into frogs, should we also be playing Pongify? And what's the other Pongify? The new Pongify?
I think it's just called New Pongify.
Oh. But we should probably play those two.
Sure. Those you don't lose, right. Those are good.
I mean they have the same change this into something else, although it's a little bigger than a 1/1.
And it's a green token that they make, right?
It is. One of them.
I like that. I like that fact that we're making black and green tokens now in our white blue deck.
Well, usually we're going to give the green token to someone else.
Sometimes. Captain of the Watch is definitely is a very, I think, a card that is certainly going to be impactful enough for Commander, especially with all the soldier tokens we're able to make with Elspeth and some other cards that we're going to talk about.
Okay, that guy is easy.
So let's put
easy
Captain
in.
of the Watch in, right? All other soldier creatures you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance, and then when he enters the battlefield, you get 3 1/1 soldiers.
Okay, so how many token creators do we really want? Because there's a lot. There's Knight, Captain of Eos. We could play Evangel of Heliod. There's Precursor Golem.
I love Evangel of Heliod.
You're a fan?
I'm a huge fan, and like this is going to be the deck that you're able to get some value out of that. What creature type does Evangel of Heliod make?
It makes soldiers.
So yeah, I think we want to focus on a soldier theme whenever possible for the tokens.
Okay.
Like we can cut the benthic the whatever he is. We can cut the blue guy, the Benthicor.
Yep.
And like I'm fine focusing more on soldier tokens. So Cloud Goat Ranger makes
it makes Kithkins, but
they're Kithkin soldier tokens.
Are they?
Yes.
Are you looking at it? Because
I am.
Okay, I believe you then.
They're Kithkin soldiers, yeah.
Stormfront Riders. What does that do? When Stormfront Riders enters the battlefield, return 2 creatures you control to their owner's hand. When Stormfront Riders or another creature is returned to your hand from the battlefield, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. That's weird. So it's a creature that you play, and then it returns creatures, and then when creatures are returned, you get 1/1 tokens.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think we want that one.
A card. I think so. We have our Rasputin, and we have we're trying to think about things that we could do with that mana.
Well, we already have like Trentavis and and
Oh,
Pentavis and things
okay.
like that. But
Okay.
what else are you thinking?
I was thinking about Custody Soulbinders. There are also conspiracy cards. There's also the blue one that draws cards. But Custody Soulbinders is 3 white for a 0/0. But it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters, where X is the number of other creatures on the battlefield. It looks at the whole battlefield, not just an opponent.
So it's ridiculous, is what
So
you're
it's
saying.
ridiculous. And then it has
What's the name of
two
it again?
Custody Soulbinders. It's a conspiracy card.
It
And
may it may be on here.
okay.
Is it Custody?
Custodi.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
All I have is Hannah's Custody.
Okay. And so then this is 2 white, remove a +1/+1 counter from Custody Soulbinders, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield.
That guy seems to work,
That
especially
guy
in a
works.
multiplayer game.
And we can also play with, like, I mean, there's like a lot of stuff. I mean, we're obviously gonna put a Nixo Shrine to Nyx in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're gonna end up with a lot of, like, either white or like, it's gonna do something for us disgusting.
So we're gonna have a lot of devotion to white and or blue. Should we be looking in a godly location? The direction should we be looking up above instead of going down deep?
I I mean, I certainly like Afara.
Afara gives us more cards each time we put a creature onto the battlefield.
Or yeah, and if we do it on our opponent, we can actually draw a card. Like, let's just say we had Custody Soulbinders in play, and we just made it a creature each turn. We would then draw a card on each subsequent turn. So if I have a creature come into play on my turn, I draw a card on your turn. If I have a creature come into play on your turn, I then draw another card on my turn.
So how do we make creatures come into the battlefield on our opponent's turn?
Well, Custody Soulbinders is an example.
Mm-hmm.
We could momentary blink things.
Maybe we should have momentary blinks. We also have a bunch of flash creatures too.
Yeah, we have, and momentary blink, and then we have, like, I mean, you could actually just set that up. You're like, momentary blink my Archaeomancer.
Yeah, that's a thing. just a card engine, 6 mana, draw a card.
Yeah. It's Whispers with buyback. There you go.
Except you get a body and you can block.
Yeah.
Isn't there a card, another card like momentary blink? There's
There's
arcane
Cloud
one.
Shift.
Oh, Cloud Shift. That may not be good enough, although it accomplishes exactly what we want. I like the fact the momentary blink has flashback, which makes it a little bit better. Just being a one shot, you're really relying on your ability to return that. And if you actually draw your Archaeomancer and you look at your graveyard and Cloud Shift is the card that you're getting, you're not in good shape.
Right. Oh, I just found a card that absolutely needs to be in our deck.
Which one?
Duplicate.
Yes, it does. Duplicate is going to be in the deck. So that guy is, every time he enters the battlefield, he gets an exile, a non-token creature.
Yeah.
So that's going to be that's already one of the ways that people are removing problematic creatures in Commander, because it doesn't send it to the graveyard. At the end of the day, your duplicate becomes this huge thing if you were able to remove this huge thing. There's also Death Mask Duplicate, which I believe does the same thing. Oh no, this one exiles creatures from your graveyard and then becomes a copy of it. So that's not the same thing. But Duplicate definitely gets the job done.
So did you put Evangel of Heliod in the deck?
I do have an Evangel of Heliod in this list that's getting really big for the screen.
Okay. And you put a Geist Honored Monk. So I mean, I'm fine saying that we're just gonna go, like, spirits don't seem very humble. A soldier, just a foot soldier, those are very humble.
Well, some spirits are humble.
Yeah.
Casper's kind of humble. Uh,
Casper's a dead baby, dude.
isn't there something humbling about that though?
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, there's. I mean, we have a soldier theme. I guess there is kind of a sub spirit theme. There's some spirits
Sure.
flying around in this list. Yeah,
Right. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing Obelisk of Erd in this deck.
and just pick whatever type
Yeah,
we have the most
just
of.
whatever tokens, right? Like spirit or soldier.
Yeah, another card that ends up
And we can also reset Obelisk of Erd whenever we want.
during combat action. Oh no,
Yeah.
it's after damage is dealt though.
It's after damage, but that's still fine. Like I'm saying, it's like, oh, now suddenly, my soldiers are dead. I have spirits. Let's switch over to spirits. Or, you could be like, you could even just say like, oh, I need I'm attacking you with my spirits in the air and my Brago, and my soldiers are holding the ground. So now I'll Brago out my Obelisk of Erd, and now all my soldiers, have the captain of the watch. I make 3 more soldiers, and they're getting +3/+3 between the obelisk and this. You know what I mean? Like you could actually like use the obelisk offensively and defensively.
Okay. No, I like that. That's good. Now, one thing I am now worried about. We have all these tokens in play. What happens when someone just wraths? We need some type of resilience. And right now we don't really have that resilience. And I mean, I've already made one deck where I'm like, I don't care if you wrath. That's your out. It kind of keeps the peace with, of course now I'm talking about my Druid deck again, but I deliberately made it susceptible to wrath effects because I felt that if you're not playing a wrath effect, then you really don't have a reason to complain about getting overrun by little green creatures. And if you are playing a wrath effect, then I deserve to lose. So that's fine. That's the pact I made with myself with my Druid deck. But this deck seems to want to not just roll over to a wrath, and I don't think we need to put a lot of cards in that are wrath resilient. But I feel like just one there's like a card that exiles all of your creatures, and then at the end of turn they come back. And I'm trying to look for that card, and I can't remember the name of it. I feel like it's in Ravnica.
Well, I mean, you could actually just play with Second Sunrise if you wanted.
Well, you can play with Second Sunrise, but that also gives everyone back their creatures.
Oh,
So
fair.
wait, Second Sunrise is the one. One of them is just your things, and one of them is everybody's thing.
Right.
The original card is Second Sunrise, right?
Yeah.
So that's everyone brings back everything that went to the graveyard this turn. So you're going to give everyone back their creatures.
Oh, but you don't have to play that one. You can play the what is the second one called
I'm
again?
trying to remember. It was in all of the second breakfasts decks, all of the
Right.
egg decks, and it's the only one that's still legal in in modern right now. And obviously, we're not going to remember the name of it, but well, I'll look for it. That's one way of doing it. I still want to play that. There's an instant that exiles all of your creatures, and then they all come back at the end of turn. And I feel like it was specifically designed to be an anti-Wrath of God effect.
Sure.
And not only does it save all of our creatures, even though we lose all of our tokens, but we get to replenish all of those tokens again because most of our creatures are going to have enter the battlefield abilities. So
Right.
not only is it resistance to a Wrath of God, but we can just use it to reset any, like if we've lost a bunch of our tokens to some effect, we can end a turn or before the last turn gets back to our turn, we can remove all of our creatures. They all come back. We get a bunch of tokens and we're back in business.
Right. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what that is.
Faith's Reward.
Okay.
return to the battlefield all permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. And I don't want to overdo the anti-wrath stuff because, you know, it's still a game, and inherently being able to play one creature that puts 3 to 4 permanents on the board is a good thing to do after a wrath.
And we have a million planeswalkers in our deck.
Yeah, we do have just about all of the blue and or white ones.
You know what's a nice creature to put in here for the soldier theme? Knight Captain of Eos.
Yeah, I think I have him already.
You have him because when he comes into play, you could sacrifice a soldier and prevent all combat damage will be dealt this turn. That feels very humble.
Oh no, I don't have that one.
Yeah, this guy's good. She's a rare from Shards of Alara.
Yeah, everyone's who's gonna watch the video version is gonna know my inability to spell words like captain. Oh, is it Knight? It's Knight hyphen Captain, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's never coming up. And it still didn't come up. Oh, because
put in
the C.
Eos.
The C. Oh, it's because my keyboard is set to not insert. It's set to overwrite. There we go. All right, now Knight Captain of Eos is in. And not only does it give us a couple of tokens, but it lets us play the political role again, or keep ourselves alive because you can sacrifice a soldier to prevent combat damage to basically fog. So all of these soldiers become tap a white fog.
Right. You know what's a Nombo for our deck?
I like Nombos. Let's hear it.
Phyrexian Processor.
Yeah, that one's not so good. Yeah. That one, I mean, that's actually a pretty good card for Commander, and I wonder why we don't see it that much.
I was literally just thinking the same thing.
Well, I guess because it only makes one thing, just one creature, and artifacts and enchantments are all kind of vulnerable because someone always has, like, you know, acidic slime or some other, like, aura shards. There's a lot of aura shards running around in Commander decks, and it's all it takes to spoil anybody's fun.
Yeah.
Or shards comes down and no one can do fun things anymore.
Listen, I know we don't have, speaking of fun things, I know we don't have a lot of room in this deck already. But just in my interest of like 5-color tokens, blue-white, humble brags.
Okay.
Can we get a Sarpadian Empires Volume 7 in? We can actually just reset it each time, and we can actually get.
I don't even think I can.
Do Wooburg tokens.
I don't even think I can search for that because it's all weird. There we go. Sarpadian Empires Volume 7. Are they going to come out with the other volumes? Did we ever ask about that?
It's like when you would buy that encyclopedia set as a kid, and you would just have like AA to, you know. And you don't get the other volumes.
So when it comes into play, you either choose White Citizen, Blue Camerid, Black Thrall, Red Goblin, or Green Sapling. And you pay 3 and tap, and you put a 1/1 creature of the chosen type to the battlefield. And I mean, I guess you can humbly brag about how you read this book as you're putting Blue Camerids into play.
Yeah, I really want to get a Sarpadian Empires in there.
Have you ever resolved this card?
No.
I'm trying to. This was just strictly a flavor card in a not very flavorful set. It was in Time Spiral.
Oh yeah, the flavorless.
Yeah, there was no flavor in Time Spiral. I guess Time Spiral.
I love Time Spiral.
I love Time Spiral too. It was great, but in comparison to other sets that have concentrated more on the flavor of Magic, Time Spiral's flavor, quote unquote, was we're going to take all these old mechanics and some of these old cards and bring them back into this one set, which in a sense is kind of a flavor, but it's more of a top-down flavor. It's more of a, we want to put all these mechanics and show that over time, these are all the things that happen, and we're spiraling them together into this one set. Where within the set, there isn't a lot of time traveling flavor in any of the cards.
No, no.
And then you have Sarpadian Empires Volume 7, which is just literally a book from the book about the time spiral block, which makes 1/1s. And I also feel like this isn't really, because I didn't read Sarpadian Empires Volume 7, and I didn't read the Time Spiral book, so
I wanted to, I just hadn't read the first 6, so I figured I wouldn't know what was going on.
I think the first one was just called Sarpadian Empire, and then the second was Sarpadian Empires.
Well, it was such bullshit, because it was like Sarpadian Empires, the trilogy, right? They introduced it that way. And then the guy got greedy. And he just like, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to do a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th, and a 7th book.
Yeah, he didn't
and
even...
I just stopped. I just stopped reading them.
He didn't even just stop at doing a second trilogy like everyone else's. He's like, you know what, we're going to kick it up that one more notch. Quadrilogy. I don't even know. Is there a word for...
Sure.
Somebody would make it, maybe, I don't know, Phil Jackson copyright it or something. Yeah. All right, so, again, we lost track.
Sorry.
It's okay, because we got to talk a little bit about Time Spiral.
Hey, you know what's a great card? You were talking about indestructibility?
Mm-hmm.
How about Spirit Bonds? The new card from M15.
Spirit Bonds. Now, that allows us to make creatures...
Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, under your control, you may pay white. If you do, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. 1 white, sacrifice a spirit, target non-spirit creature gains indestructible until end of turn. So we can actually sit there with a handful of spirits and some white mana and save whatever creatures we want to save, including our Brago.
Now, what I ultimately want to do with this, because obviously this also combos with Brago, because we can then blink creatures and they leave and come back into the battlefield and they trigger Spirit Bonds.
Right.
But we can't actually target land to get mana back for our Spirit Bonds, but if we have artifact mana sources, we could target those with Brago. And as long as we target enough to make 2 mana per creature that we're targeting, we'll have the 2 mana that's necessary to pay for the Spirit Bonds trigger. So things like an artifact that makes 2 mana, I'm just grasping off the top of my head. I mean, I know Soul Ring is in the deck already, but things like talismans and maybe signets.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Those cards. So if we're able to blink our multiple signets and talisman alongside a creature when we have Spirit Bonds in play, then we are able to pay for the Spirit Bonds even if we've tapped out that turn to do other things. This also makes our Tezzeret a lot better if we are putting artifact mana into the deck. And I think that's something we want to do with Brago, because being able to tap a bunch of mana, right, and then attack with Brago and effectively untap all of our mana, or at least a big sum of our mana, the sum that's in artifact form, then we get to have, twice as much mana, or, 66% more mana per turn with every Brago attack. And I know there's a lot of decks that aren't really big, or at least a lot of people who play Commander who don't like to fill their decks with talisman and signets, and the only one they usually play is Darksteel Ignite, because it's indestructible, purely because there's a lot of ways for mana sources that are, a lot of ways for artifacts and enchantments to get destroyed. And you don't want to be reliant on a signet to get you a key color, or just to be that third mana source that you kept. I'm fine with once we get to turn 6 or 7 of the game with my artifact mana getting killed. A lot of times you just want it to you just don't want to fall behind on those early turns to someone who's doing something
kind of broken or super aggressive.
I personally like artifact mana, and
Yeah,
being able to get to 5 before everyone else is a big deal because 5 is when like the meat of commander actually starts to happen.
right,
There are decks that want to do things on turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, but a lot of the battle cruiser decks don't start playing Magic until turn 5, and if your turn 5 is 2 turns before their turn 5, it doesn't really matter that much if they blow up your Signet on
right,
turn 3 or 4.
right. So I have to ask you a question.
Hmm.
Speaking of mana, humble creatures. Is there anything more humble than an 0/1 white goat creature?
Are we playing? Are you talking about the land that makes?
I'm talking about Springjack Shepherd and Springjack Pasture.
Which one's the shepherd? I know the
So
pasture.
Springjack Shepherd is 3 white for a 1/2, and it has chroma, which may sound shockingly like devotion to you. When Springjack Shepherd comes into play, put an 0/1 white goat creature token into play for each white mana symbol in the mana costs of permanents you control.
Hmm.
And then Springjack Pasture says is taps for colorless. It has 4 tap, put an 0/1 white goat creature token onto the battlefield. And then its other ability, its ultimate.
After you've accumulated a goat army, a army of 0/1 goats, what do you do with them, Brian David Marshall?
You sacrifice X goats, add X mana of any one color to your mana pool. You gain X life.
Okay, so I see some ways we can quote unquote combo off with this. The one way is obviously having a shepherd. We also have Ovenize in our deck, so so we could change one of our creatures into a goat and sacrifice it to the Springjack Pasture. But now, this makes me want to play Oven. Was it Ovenmancer?
Venomancer?
Yeah, Ovenomancer. I think we want to play that. I think that is the most humbly of Brago targets that we can put in here, right?
Oh, it's a pretty bad one, right?
Well, let me read it because I got it up.
Okay.
When Ovenomancer enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return 3 basic lands you control to their owner's hand. We could live with that, right?
Oh, but it's a sheep token, not a goat token.
Oh, is it a sheep?
It's
Oh
a sheep.
no, it is. Return Ovenomancer to his owner's hands. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. That creature's controller puts a 0/1 green sheep creature token into the battlefield.
By the way, I had no idea that the sheep was green until right now.
Well, it probably never was green until maybe 2006.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm guessing they didn't put a color on the token, and then once Magic started maturing, they realized, oh, this probably shouldn't be a colorless token, or else weird things could happen. And sheep. I guess it's a coin flip between green or white, or maybe goats are white and sheep are green, or whatever.
All right, so screw a Venomancer, but I like Shepherd and Pasture.
I feel like, isn't there another card that changes things into goats and or sheep? I guess Trading Post makes goats.
Oh, Trading Post is fine.
You put a Trading Post in?
Yeah, you wanted a couple artifacts, right?
All right. Well, I figured we will play a bunch of artifact mana sources, so that'll give us some artifacts to be in play if we do have a Tezzeret going. This Tezzeret is actually pretty bad because the +1 on Tezzeret is never going to
All right,
hit.
so let's get rid of Tezzeret. We're tight. We have a lot of cards right now.
Yeah, I have 50, but I haven't even put all of the ones that you were mentioning. Some of them aren't on Magic Online, and some of them, I just got caught up in the conversation on the cards and I couldn't throw them in. But this is about 50. I'd say we are between 50, 55, maybe even 60 cards deep, which means we need to start looking at mana.
Right.
Because I like in my commander decks like 35 to 40% mana.
I'm in the same, but I generally play like 36 lands and then usually play Usually like 36 lands, and
And
then
then 5 to
like
10 artifact sources or something,
yeah,
or
like I'll play 8 to 10 other mana sources. That includes like Rofalos type cards or
mhm.
whatever, you know what I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah, things that like rampant growth you,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
things that are
yeah. Wood
just,
elves,
yeah,
etc. Yeah,
yeah. I feel like that's a great place to be, to ensure that you can get to the mid and late game, which is when commander decks actually get a lot of the things going.
yeah. People always laugh at wood elves when I play it, but
No,
I gotta
Wood
tell
Elves are
you,
great.
I get so much work out of those cards. I love my whole early game in my blue green deck is all just playing cards that draw you a card or get you a land or just get you closer to the good cards in your deck. And because it's all about just like the worst thing to do is play commander and just not draw enough land and not get to play.
Yeah, that, I mean, and then you're definitely at the mercy of the people at the table, because some EDH players see that as, he's not getting to play Magic, and they'll leave you alone and kind of
which
play
is
a
all
game without you,
which is
which,
always a mistake.
yeah, it's always a mistake. It also makes you feel a little bad, because you know that they're giving you all this time, and now you're gonna have all these spells in your hand once you draw out of your mana issues. But the other spectrum is, someone sees that as a sign of weakness, and they just strike in and destroy you, and then you feel bad again because you didn't get to play. And they may or may not feel bad with you not being able to play, but it's really just an awkward experience for everyone else at the table.
Yeah.
So put mana in your decks, boys and girls. That that was the lesson here, and you heard it from us. 35 to 40% mana sources. That's a combination of land and other cards that give you mana, or in any way, like can tap for mana, or can go fetch a land out of your library, or I guess that's the only real two ways. I guess drawing cards helps a bit, but I'd rather it just get you a land. So, I have 50 cards here, and there's at least 5 to 10 that we mentioned that aren't on Magic Online. But as far as the strategies going, I think we've gotten something here.
Well, but you know what's not in there, and,
What's
and
not
I
in
think
here?
needs to be in there. You need to have at least one Mull Drifter.
Yep. I guess we should have the key cards in the Enter the Battlefield category, which
Right.
would
I want I
be,
want I want Mull Drifter. I want Mana War.
how many
Um,
Mana Wars? I think you have 3 to 5 Mana War
I want
variants.
I want Maxo War.
You want as many Mana Wars as possible, so you want,
I kind of do. I,
so
I love I love the idea of just being like, all right, attack with my Brago,
bounce, bounce,
bounce
bounce.
everything.
So we're talking Mana War, we're talking Void. What's the guy that bounces something? Void Walker? Void?
Void Mage Prodigy? No, not Void Mage
No.
Prodigy.
We'll just look up Void. And he costs 5. He's a 1/4 for 5.
Sure.
Void
What's the guy
Void
from Modern?
Wielder. Void Wielder.
Right. What's the guy from original Ravnica block? Guy who cost 6. He was just in Modern Masters.
Oh, and he puts it on the top of your library.
Yeah.
Do we want to play that one?
Maybe not. I guess
6 is a lot.
6 is a lot. 6 is a lot. But I
There's
mean, I'm fine just going like Mana War, Mistraven.
Yeah, Miss Raven. There's the Adept that,
Right. Ether Adept.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like just like 4 of those is probably good.
We should have let I guess all we need to do is look at Marshall Sutcliffe's list, because Mana War is definitely his favorite card of all time, and he has every single Mana War variant in his
I
commander
don't
deck.
actually think he does, because
He
I can
has.
tell you which
Then
one
he
he
doesn't.
doesn't
Then
have.
then he doesn't know that it exists, or it's not in his colors.
Right. What he does not have is Hoverguard Sweepers.
Oh, I think he knows about that one.
But I think we won't want hover guard sweepers.
I wonder why he doesn't have it.
I mean, it's like impossibly easy for him to cast it in his deck.
All right, it's not that hard for him to cast because it's his
Right,
general.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you know what would be an insane card in our deck, but I don't think we want to do it?
I'm listening.
Sundering Titan.
Why don't we want to do it? Why don't we want... What's the other Titan? Frost Titan? Well, Frost Titan's not as cool. But Sundering Titan? We have targets, right? We got targets for that guy. We're going to have Fetchland in this mana base, which obviously we're not going to touch the mana base. That's up to you guys.
Not Sun Titan.
Oh, Sundering Titan.
Sundering Titan, yes.
Is that even legal in Commander?
Yes.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah, I'm kind of against playing that card.
Oh no! It's banned in Commander now. It says.
Okay, good. I feel like that was something that should be banned.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
And I'm glad that it is. I don't know if that was a recent ban.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that it is too, because I would want to play with it.
Because you're an EDH jerk. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're the griefiest of griefers, and you try to pretend like you're not.
But how am I? I want to make white citizen tokens. How am I?
No. I'm not talking about this deck. This deck.
I want a social movement in Magic where I have white citizen tokens and red goblin tokens,
and they're all getting on together,
arm in arm, singing "Kumbaya" while I sacrifice goat tokens to my Springjack pasture.
What about blue Camerit tokens?
And blue Camerit tokens.
Okay, well that's good because I didn't want you to be like a Cameridist.
A Camerist?
Yeah, a Cameridist. I guess we just made up a word.
Yeah.
All right, so I wrote down on my notes to ask Marshall Sutcliffe why he doesn't have Hoverguard Sweepers in his deck. We'll get an answer from him. I'm
going to ask him right now on Twitter.
Yeah, do it. So I feel like this is something. I mean, I guess the other kind of cards we have that fall into the staple, enter the battlefield type of things, we would definitely want a Solemn Simulacrum.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because obviously we want to be able to get a land every turn. We also want to look up things that trigger when they leave the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
Because we get to trigger those, and that's not a common trigger nowadays because I guess it causes some weird problems because no one knows what happens when you do that and have phasing. I'm sure that's the only reason why people why those cards don't exist anymore. But we have things like Colossal Whale, which doesn't do anything. Colossal Whale attacks you, may exile target creature. Oh, it exiles creatures until it leaves the battlefield. So it's more of a return this thing when it goes away, but there were cards that when they, instead of being worded when this thing dies, it was worded when this thing leaves the battlefield, like Revelark. Revelark
Right.
is one of those, and we probably would like to have one of those in our deck because we have a bunch of cards that actually work well with Revelark. Things like Parallax Tide. Can we do tricky things with the Parallax Tide, Parallax Wave thing? So we would need to be able to remove it in response to activating the ability, which we can't do because we can't attack in response to activating that ability. So Slither Muse, that's a good one.
Oh, I like Slither Muse.
When
I also like Boon, Meadow Boon, or
yeah, both of those. They both play well. With Metal Boom even more. But what Slither Muse says, because there may be some people, or a lot of people who aren't familiar with this card, when Slither Muse leaves the battlefield, choose an opponent. If that player has more cards in your hand, then you draw cards equal to the difference. So it would basically be a card drawing engine in the situations where you were behind in cards with any other player. And Metal Boon is the same, except when it leaves the battlefield, you put +1/+1 counters on each of your creatures. And if we're playing a heavy token theme, that's definitely something we want to do.
So something that we could do if if we were more spirit tokens and soldier tokens is Floodgate. So if Floodgate gains flying, bury it. That's not really that important. But if Floodgate leaves play, it deals to each non-blue creature without flying 1 damage for each 2 islands you control. That's a sweet card with what's his face with Brago.
Because it doesn't affect Brago.
Right.
And it's just repetitive damage. But how can we make sure we have enough islands?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna play it in this deck, but it's just something to think about. Is if the deck starts shifting around.
I think I want to play it in this deck. So let's get back in. Let's get back in the deep end. I see you trying to wade back to the shallow. Come with me to the deep end. Let's go deep. We can make our lands. Well, first of all, we can actually play a bunch of islands.
Nevermaker is another card. When Nevermaker leaves play, put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library.
Yeah, we probably want to put that guy in. Now, why can't we just play a bunch of islands? We can have a lot of islands in this deck, and the mana base, like this mana base doesn't have to be a ridiculous fetch land filled, dual land heavy mana base. It can just be islands and plains, and we can play some artifacts that fix our land that go get islands and plains, or things like that.
Right.
We could have enough islands for a Floodgate. We could play Quicksilver Amulet. Is that a thing?
All right. How about this? I see your Floodgate, which I think is pretty tricky and kills our soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And instead, raise you 1 reality acid.
What is that even? Okay, I found reality acid. I remember seeing this card. Okay, so it's an aura. Where'd it go? Okay, so Vanishing 3. When reality acid leaves the battlefield, enchanted permanent's controller sacrifices it. So it's just hard removal in our deck.
It is.
That we could just bounce to whatever we want.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Right, so we get something, and then we Brago it out, it dies, reality acid comes back, and we enchant something else.
And then repeat for later. And if we have Venser out, we can just do that too. I'm a big fan of Venser. Huge fan of Venser.
I like Venser a lot.
What about even Rift Watcher? Do we want to be
just gain life?
Yeah, just gain a couple of life every attack, and deal 2 damage, and we get to keep a 2/3 flyer.
I'm not opposed to Rift Watcher. I just assumed we wouldn't have room for it.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't. Like, I just added a few cards and we're up to 60, and then the 3 or 5 or 10 that aren't on Magic Online that we are considering would definitely push us above where we want to be, leaving enough room for the mana that we like. But there are a lot of cards that still say leaves the battlefield, and they do some interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, we still have we said the words Revel Arc yet?
Yeah, we said Revel Arc. Revel Arc's in there. We put him in there. There's this is an old time. Urtai's familiar. If we want to mill ourselves.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Whenever Urtai's familiar phases out or leaves the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into the graveyard. And then you can stop it from phasing out, but we probably wouldn't do
we have no way to break Wormfangs, right?
Wormfangs, they exile your land, right?
Well, there's a bunch of them. So there's Wormfang Behemoth, which comes into play, remove all cards in your hand from the game, and then when it leaves play, you return it. That's not so good. But then there's things like Wormfang Crab. It's unblockable when it comes into play. An opponent chooses a permanent you control and removes it from the game, which has got to be Other, all right, it's been reworded to say other than Wormfang Crab. And then when it leaves play, it comes in. But then you have like uh, Wormfang Manta. So Wormfang Manta 7 for 6/1 flying, but when it comes into play, you skip your next turn. Then when it leaves play, you take an extra turn. No, this is a disaster.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to
No.
get anything out of this.
Yeah.
So
Too deep.
if we could counter triggers, I mean, we could.
Oh.
Is there?
No, but the Wormfang, the Husher, the Void Mage Husher is activated abilities, not triggered.
Is there a creature that when it enters the battlefield, it counters a triggered ability? Because that would combo. That would combo right. Perfectly.
And that would be a perfectly acceptable infinite turns combo to take in Commander, because if you get to pull that off, no one could hold it against you.
If someone did that to me, I would not be mad. Because obviously, when someone plays a Wormfang anything, I'm like, have it, bro. But it looks like the only cards that counter triggered abilities are Trickbind, Stifle, and Void Slime.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a way to make it...
make Void Slime a creature?
Well, okay. Well, no, that doesn't work. I was thinking, well, Humility would make it lose its ability, and then you can blink the Humility, but you can't blink the Humility because Humility's in play, and Brago wouldn't work.
Well, you could Venser Humility.
Okay, so we have Humility in play.
No, we've already agreed. One of the ground rules we laid at the beginning of this podcast is that we were not going to get into humility.
That's true, but just a second here. Let's just hear me out. Just hear me out. We have Humility. We ventured the Humility. So now we have a Brago. So we have the Humility in play. So we were able to play the Wormfang.
But Venser just blinks it, right? Like it comes right back.
No. It comes back at the end of turn.
Oh.
So we have the Humility in play, which means we're able to play the Wormfang without any drawback. And the Brago. Wait a minute. We have Humility in play. We have Venser. We play the Wormfang. And then if we blink that Wormfang anyway... Well, no, that doesn't work. We have to blink the Humility. And then if we blink the Wormfang in any way, we take an extra turn. But then we would lose that turn when it came back.
Oh, right.
Unless we just make it leave, unless we return it to our hand. Like with a Quickling or a Deputy of Acquittal.
Oh, interesting.
So we've created a convoluted way to get an extra turn out of a Wormfang mantra when we could have just played Time Warp or something.
Right, we could just play Time Warp or Chaomancer.
Yes. Any of those work 1,000 times better, and we probably don't want to put a combo like that in a Commander deck because that would make people sad.
Sheldon will knock on our doors and give us Commander demerits.
Yeah, I mean, he just wrote an article about like Commander behavior, I think, that I started to read, but
I stopped reading those because I always feel like he's scolding me.
It is all about you. Actually, if you read like every third word in the second paragraph, it did read out Brian David Marshall. This one's for you. It was weird that he just started. He had some weird friend named Brian that was a marshal at the David tennis court or something. It was weird. I was wondering where he was going, but then I broke the code. I have a confession. That actually isn't the case. As much as you'd like it to be. Alright, so again, we have a bunch of cards. Not a complete list, but at least it's like 60 cards this time.
Yeah.
That's something.
I'm actually going to build this deck, by the way.
This is actually, of Commander decks that are on the list, I would definitely add this to the list of things that I want to do.
This is going to be a lot of fun. You're gonna have a lot of velocity with your deck. You're gonna be like just moving stuff around. You're gonna make a lot of tokens. I'm gonna probably zero in, I think, on the soldier theme a little bit more.
Wait, are you
Actually,
are you cutting the humble part? You
I
can't
don't
cut the
know. I,
humble
I won't
part.
cut the humble part.
I feel like that's actually a pretty good removal spell for commander because there are a lot of creatures that are pretty big and hard to to deal with in combat, creature on creature, and they like to get into the red zone,
Yeah.
and or someone plays a Wrath of God effect when they have an indestructible creature in play, and you're like, I've got something for you.
Are
So,
we gonna put a Caracas in this deck?
isn't that banned?
Is that banned?
I feel like it's either banned. I remember it was originally emergency errata to not work on your commander.
It's probably.
It's
I actually
probably
don't know
banned.
what the commander banned list is.
It might be banned. If it, I guess there's three possibilities. At one point, it was
Banned. It's
playable.
banned in commander.
Okay, it's banned. At one point, it you could play it, but you couldn't target commanders, or commanders were immune to the ability. And I believe it became unbanned, and then after a short stint, people were like, "Oh no, this just does not make commander any fun." Because I remember I had it in my I had a Captain Sisse deck that had one of every legendary land that was green and or white mana producing, and that was one of them that I ended up taking out and putting back in, and then taking out because of the fluctuation in the playability of that card from a format standpoint. I mean, it's just broken if you could play it, so that's probably why you can't play it in Commander. I miss my Captain Sisse deck. I may have to rebuild it.
Yeah, I think I think I am gonna build this. I gotta. Can I get an altar of
Brago?
Brago to look like Tom Martell?
Well, can't you just put like a big Tom Martell sticker like over his head or something? Or just have him in the corner and him saying something Martellish in, a humble way. Not exactly bragging on anything. But I'm looking at the art on Brago, and there isn't a lot of room for drawing a head over this head. It's kind of
Right,
it's
right.
really small and it's at the top of the card. I guess it can go over to the name of the text of the card, because I'm envisioning an oversized Tom Martell head.
That's the only kind he has.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But I feel like it needs to be over the top if you're gonna have Tom Martell's
Yeah,
head on this. But I could see it. Just get like a little sticker or something and just tape it right on it, put it in the sleeve, and call it a day.
yeah. I like to get Klug to do all my commander altars.
Clue's a good guy.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll figure out some. I think there's probably a good classic humble brag image actually that I can come up with for it.
I think he's top on the search in Google Images for humble brag. If you wanna
Who
Google,
Martell?
yeah, probably not, but I could see that being
Yeah.
pretty close.
But I'm saying I think there might be an iconic like something else that. I don't want to bust on Tom, and I also don't want to have to look at his face while I'm playing the whole time.
You'd get used to it,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately. But
So,
I think we've gone deep enough, and we have definitely at least 60 to 70 cards that you know make the
and
cut and could easily be taken out, or you know there's a lot of design space in
yeah,
this deck, but there's definitely a strategy, and I like the strategy that we came up with. We still have the humble, we still got the Brago, so I'm happy, and I'm sure you're happy, and there'll be a bunch of listeners that are also happy with this deck.
yeah. I mean, and I feel like there's still stuff we could do, right? Like we could still put a peel from reality in here.
Yeah,
Did you put a momentary blink in?
I did put a momentary
Okay.
blink. There's one of those in there, but there's an arcane spell that does sort of the same thing. If you want to get heavy into the blinking aspect, you can even play Cloud Shift if you really want to, if you want to
Right.
max out on that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But we're gonna leave those
Right.
kind of things up to you guys.
We
Maybe
could put a conjurer's closet in this deck.
I don't even know what that does.
Look it up. It's basic. It's basically just yet one more way to reset a creature every turn.
Oh, okay. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. And there's also cards that let you return a creature every turn to your hand, which will kind of give you that same effect, even though you're spending the mana on that ability, which isn't all that great, and you may not have a surplus. But there's some games where you do have that kind of surplus in Commander, and just an extra 10 mana turns nothing.
Right.
But yeah, I think we can come back up for air now for this episode.
Right.
And
I definitely like building some more Archaeomancer combos in. Like you could do Peel, Archaeomancer, Gilded Drake.
actually, Gilded Drake should probably be in this deck because Gilded Drake allows us to combo with our Venser Planeswalker,
Right.
and it's
Brago's only permanents you control.
yeah, it's only permanents you control. I just read that, and
Okay.
we don't want to blink the things that we've
No,
stolen
no, for
because
sure.
they get them back. There's some cards that are worded that they wouldn't get it back.
Cloud Shift, I think, is one of those cards.
Yeah, it might be. There's definitely a card that says back to its controllers under your control or under the controller's control. It doesn't have that explicit under the owner's control. But we can talk about Humble Brago variants all day.
Okay. We actually have.
I mean, we definitely. I'm pretty sure we started an hour and a half ago. Is that true?
It's a little more than that.
Well, a lot of that was me trying to figure out how to search
Okay.
for cards in this interface because I didn't have all my cards. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
that's going to end it for this episode. And if someone wants to get in contact with you, Brian David Marshall, how can they do that?
Sure. Well, I'm at Top 8 Games on Twitter. Also, you could, I mean, you could we have a top-down deck design Facebook page now, right?
Yep, we do have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/TD3 podcast. We also have a Twitter, which is TD3 podcast, and we have a website, TD3podcast.com. So I don't know if you've noticed the pattern, but it's all there. And my Twitter is at Rashad Miller, so feel free to.
One of many, like Rashad has several secret.
Well,
there is if you're active on Twitter, I'm just gonna say this, and there's someone who's trolling you, and you don't know who that person is. It's one of Rashad's secret identities.
I only have two personal Twitter accounts, which is Rashad Miller, which I use all the time, and one that's called Sweet Hats, which I just did it to get the name. And originally, it was going to be every time I bought a new hat, I would just take a picture of it and send a tweet of my hat. But I just never got around to it, and mostly because I have like a surplus of hats that I want to get through to start that thing going, which I may still do, maybe not, I don't know. And then I have my at Gigi's Live, which is for any updates regarding programming and streaming for my Gigi's Live stuff. So you probably have never been trolled by me on any of those accounts.
Oh.
And I promise I do not have any other Twitter accounts as of yet, other than the TD3 podcast, which we both kind of share, even though it's been mostly me.
But if you get trolled by that account, it's all Rashad.
Maybe we'll start making sure we put our names in front of any tweets that we tweet out. Let's just say that. I'll always put my name.
To put your name in front of any tweets.
Okay. With that, I'm gonna thank you guys. Why don't you guys build your own Humble Brago decks? Tell us about them. Send us a tweet. Send us a list. Like us on Facebook, and we will see you next time.
Cool. Thanks, Rashad.
Thanks, Brian.